we know of. A lot of games, free-to-play especially, because they're games as a service, they can afford to release as like early access or Kickstarter or just really early in development. Because they're online games, they need people playing them to test them and to grow them, to mature them. So a lot of the times we get a lot of games instantaneously. You know, as soon as we hear about it, oh, a month later, boom. Okay, but these are the ones that we've heard about for just a little bit now. Some of you guys might have even been playing them. So these are the games that are going to release in 2019 and are not in a public free-to-play state, at least at the moment. I think they're all exciting. Obviously, it's my list. It's my personal opinion. And if there's one that you think is missing, well, let me know in the comments below. But for me, here's my list. Let's go. All right, so number 5, the first game I want to talk about is Kurzweil, whatever, I don't know how to say it. Anyways, this game is interesting to me because I love me some PvP RPGs, but I also love Monster Hunter games. This is both of those. This is an arena game where you jump in, there's a hub town, cool stuff, but it's not an MMO, it's not an open zone type of game, MMO light in the least. It's a game where you and a few people team up together to either fight a big monster inside of a dungeon arena kind of thing, or inside of a combat arena. And it plays kind of more like a spectacle fighter. It really reminds me a lot of Dragon Nest, and I actually played a lot of Dragon Nest PvP, Vindictus also. Those are the kind of games that I like, and Kurzweil directly reminds me of those games, but cutting out the fat. You know, a lot of the grind and kind of the Musou or warrior style gameplay with, you know, hordes of enemies, longer dungeons, things like that. Those can be exciting, but I think that's more of in the MMO genre, more in the Dungeon Diver proper genre. This is kind of something different, and it might look similar to games like Onigiri or jumping into, again, Dragon Nest or many other Dungeon Fighter. It might look kind of like those games, but this seems to be completely focused on, well, actually just that pure idea of a focus on, hey, there's a boss in a box, you go and do that. Okay, you go this mission, it's a PvP capture the flag mission, you go and do that. It's very specific. It almost feels like it's just battlegrounds and then boss rushes, and that's freaking cool that it's all in the same game with the same mechanics, the same class. And I just hope the balance is there, because as we know with games like Warframe or Destiny or a lot of MMOs, you know, PvE and PvP can be awkward to balance together, but I think this game with such a trimmed and focused concept, I think it could be really exciting. So I love me some PvP RPGs. You might want to go check out my list on those. And also fantasy battle royale games are kind of coming up. So Kurzweil or Kitzbühel, freaking whatever. Hey, that's going to be on my radar here at number 5 for upcoming new free-to-play games. All right, guys, number 4, and I'm a little bit dubious about putting this on the list, but I'm going to slap down Dragon Hound. This is going to be a ranged and mounted focused monster hunting type of game. Now, recently we had Dauntless coming out, which was a pretty exciting game. They kind of slowed their roll there a little bit. And if you actually go watch my top 10 Monster Hunter games list, you can see there's a lot of really cool games that have come out in the past couple years that were very exciting, and many of them were shooters or ranged type of games. So Dragon Hound, it's not too far-fetched, though it is a little bit silly seeing these horses with like these giant mounted cannons on the side of them. But regardless, my hopes for this game really kind of, I think you could say, like, it kind of comes from the comparison, like, if Monster Hunter World is Mario, then I want Dragon Hound to be Sonic, which I don't think it's going to really play out like that. But the idea of just a faster paced Monster Hunter, you know, one that has just like a bigger velocity, right? Something that just is a slightly strange spectacle, kind of, you know, comparing and contrasting from Monster Hunter World. I think that'd be great, because Dauntless is in a lot of ways very similar in terms of like the game flow. So I want Dragon Hound to feel a little bit differently. I want the dragons to really move around the map. You know, kind of like in Dark Souls, actually. I love the dragon fights there because they're very mobile sometimes, and that totally changes the gameplay. And yeah, in Monster Hunter World, the fact that they're so mobile and you have that traversal mechanics in that game, it really added, you know, to the next level. So Dragon Hound, it's probably not going to be as vertical, but if they can make it really fast-paced, have these really big open zones, and I think just there's subtle little changes, and of course the fact that it is forced ranged, I think that could be really big. Even if it's mostly empty, you know, larger areas, mostly the same type of monsters we fight, the slight little subtle changes in speed and flow can make a big difference in this genre, which is known for being slower paced, longer, and drawn out, and generally more focused on bosses and boxes. So yeah, that's why it makes number 4. Okay, number 3, halfway on the list, we have a game called Conqueror's Blade. I mentioned this a few times in a couple of list videos, namely recently I talked about it in games that you totally need to sign up for beta. Conqueror's Blade is a game that I'm excited for because I played a very similar game called Tiger Knight General Empire War, if you guys want to check that out. Essentially, I think a lot of people would compare it to Mount & Blade, maybe. There's a few other titles, maybe like Kingdom Under Fire. Essentially, you do control one general, and it does have kind of like a mounted combat. I guess you could say almost like For Honor, chivalry-ish. It's, you know, not really, but anyways, so you do have that. You do control one person, one avatar, but you're also controlling, telling, you know, different strategies or tactics, running around with a platoon, you know, there's a little squad, maybe not so little, but you run around with an army around you that you can also tell what to do, different formations, things like that. I don't know how complex and how grand it's actually going to be, but don't think of it as a grand strategy game, and don't think of it as a true, like, warrior style title or like a proper fighter game like Soul Calibur or anything like that. It's going to be its own thing, which is really an in-between. Not the best of both worlds, absolutely not, but it's going to be an online game with these unique features kind of thrown together, and in this genre genre, we haven't really had anything that's just really hit it home in the online space. Targeted Empire War was kind of fun, but it was also really cheesy and its monetization kind of sucked. I think Conqueror's Blade is going to have a lot more polish. Overall, that's what I'm seeing from it. I think it's going to be a much more serious foot forward for this type of genre when, I don't know, Kingdom Under Fire, the MMO or whatever, is just never going to come out, basically. And I can't think of anything else that's anywhere near this on the radar at the moment. So for now, this is my bet for this weird strategy, melee, general, pseudo-MMO-like kind of world-conquering experience. I don't know. Conqueror's Blade, check it out. Okay, so coming in at number 2, I'm slapping down Ascent Infinite Realm. And you know, I just kind of had this realization just right now, just as we're talking about it, because I'm looking at a feature list bullet points for this game, which is basically airships and mechs. You're gonna build your own estates. It's got a steampunk kind of like sci-fi fantasy styling. And you know, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, really, if Final Fantasy was an MMO, shouldn't it be look like this? Like, how many Final Fantasies have you played where you have a flying freaking ship? Like, almost every one. How many Final Fantasies are steampunk? Actually, most of them, I think, are steampunk or mistpunk or some sort of fantasy gear punk of some kind. I'm just saying, like, Ascent Infinite Realm is actually getting me kind of hyped, man. It's bringing me back to freaking, you know, Final Fantasy IX days. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, yeah, it's gonna have mechs and airships, and this is coming, okay, from the developers, Kakao Games. So, however you feel about that, I don't know. Publisher Bluehole Studio, oh boy, however you feel about that, I don't know. I think a lot of you guys would excuse this being on the list, but probably would like it at number 5 because of those development studios. But you know what? Man, I gotta have my hope on this one. This is the last hope for me writing for MMOs for this year. I really want to believe that these teams have learned their lesson, and I really do think so. In a lot of ways, Terra did kind of really good. In a lot of ways, it did really bad. And Black Desert Online's kind of turning it around. You know, some people like to hate me and harsh on me for that, but I don't know. I think that Ascent Infinite Realm is overall, even if it's buggy and poor performance and even pseudo pay to win, it's still kind of a novel concept that a lot of people are going to be hyped about, that a lot of people are going to play. And you can hate on me for saying that, you know, just stating straight up facts why Atlas succeeded, but for the same reason why Atlas succeeded, Ascent Infinite Realm will probably do well as well. You know, there's this really cool push for games like this, these sailing games, these cooperation games where people need to build empires and, you know, defend them against waves of monsters or other players. It's, you know, sieging type of games. And Ascent Infinite Realm is gonna have sieges with mechs and freaking airships against giant monsters, dude. Aerial combat. I think it's just kind of a little bit different, and I think it's more than just a painting. I think it's more than just simply aesthetic, which is kind of what we got with Allods, kind of what we got with like Black Gold Online and a bunch of other MMOs. I think Ascent Infinite Realm is finally taking that mechanical leap and saying, yes, these are real airships, these are real mechs, we're really gonna be doing this. A couple other games trying to do some aerial combat. Dragon Prophet, you know, I could name drop Riders of Icarus, but I think Ascent Infinite Realm is going to be the one that takes the lessons from those games and actually truly applies it. Or, okay, I hope, of course. That's all we can do. All right, and now my number 1 free-to-play for 2019, kind of probably should have been obvious, but some people kind of forget. That's gonna be Fortnite Save the World. Now, I'm still holding out on actually like jamming to this game because I want to play it free-to-play or near free-to-play, you know, whenever it's nearly gonna launch, to kind of ride that hype wave. Now, I love the Battle Royale so much, and even though I don't cover it, though I really should because it gets me tons of views, but Fortnite's, you know, I love everything about it, actually, like, and I'm really excited about the Save the World. I like watching some of the update videos that they have, and yes, they're still updating the game, guys. Now, obviously, Battle Royale is gonna get way more attention, but I think a lot of systems that they've had in Battle Royale, they're putting in Save the World, and of course, vice versa, right? They're kind of mixing and matching, and I think they're both going to grow very well together, and I think the audience, because Battle Royale is so big, that Save the World has actually been able to just survive and now even thrive. Some people think that it totally overshadowed it, which it did because Fortnite is freaking huge, but Save the World is actually probably going to be doing better and better now, especially whenever it launches as free-to-play. So, anyways, Fortnite Save the World is kind of like this looter, shooter, grindy type of game, which at first was supposed to be kind of like a Gears of War mixed with Minecraft sort of thing, and it's kind of beginning to evolve into something a little bit more. I don't know, at first glance it reminds me of Dungeon Defenders, which by the way, that's a free-to-play game, but we don't have too many free-to-play wave survival games. A lot of them actually get shut down, except for Dungeon Defenders, so thankfully for that, but I'm excited for this game. I'm hopeful, I'm keeping the hype alive, and to me, it's obvious why it's number 1, but a lot of you guys probably don't realize. A lot of you guys are probably really annoyed at the popularity of Fortnite, and for those who are annoyed at this, I just have to say, I really have to say here, that I think you should get your head out your ass and really play the game, really give it a shot, because it genuinely runs great. Battle Royale and Save the World, probably the most likely. There's some really genuinely awesome ideas, which at first glance seem similar to some other games. When you really get in and you feel the game, you'll know it's actually a totally different and unique experience that you can't get anywhere else. Of course, that's the Battle Royale, and I'm believing that's gonna merge over to Save the World as well. So at first glance, yeah, you could say it's like Gears of War mixed with Minecraft, or, you know, it looks like Dungeon Defenders in some ways, or it looks like this game and it looks like that game, but I think when we actually jump in and the free-to-play hits, and those meta events, which we've seen, you know, really promoted in the Battle Royale, and it's going to work perfectly with Save the World. I know they already kind of have some stuff like that, but I think that sort of system, which we kind of barely see in some MMOs, barely see in some MMO lights, or, you know, looter shooters like Destiny, throwing that into Fortnite would be fantastic. So I can't wait when they finally get those seasons running and the game is actually properly, free to play and launched. That's when it's going to really come to life. And I think that's, it's going to keep the momentum and keep the hype alive. Okay, well, that's pretty much it, there's 5 games. I talked about 5 games, so yeah, that's my top 5 new free-to-play of 2019. Hopefully you guys agree with me, or maybe found a new game that you didn't hear about, but in the end, these are my 5 that we know. Again, I have to kind of reiterate that free-to-play games aren't generally advertised as much as obviously like big AAA games, but I don't think AAA and free-to-play need to be separated. Just free-to-play are generally games as a service. They kind of start slower, as we see with Fortnite Save the World and a couple of the games on this list. They start slower, have a lot of tests, and it just kind of builds and builds and builds, and then you get your Warframes, you get your Path of Exiles, and, well, yeah, you get your Fortnite Battle Royales. So I think that as long as we keep our eye on these games, well, these are going to be the ones that have the best chances of, well, being anything at all. That'd be pretty great. A lot of free-to-play games come and go.